The cold, early morning fog lay low across the training grounds of Silverfall Citadel City. The scent of dust scattered over the stone floor, and the metallic sting of old iron sharply stimulated the tip of my nose. I gripped the heavy wooden training sword. Every single joint of my fingers wrapped around the hilt was cramping tightly.
It's still not enough. I can't stop at this level.
An orphan stray who used to roll around the bottom of the streets. That was the only phrase used to describe me until not too long ago. Days when my intestines twisted from hunger, drenched in the mud splashed by splendid carriages while having to endure the aristocrat's mockery. But right now, at the center of my chest, in the very middle of my heart, an unbelievable heat was thumping loudly. On a pitch-black night, a star fragment had fallen from the sky, emitting a piercing light. Ever since the day that fragment buried itself into my heart, my life was twisted into a completely different orbit. Every time my heart beat, a minute wave of light flowed through the blood vessels of my whole body. Just then, mysterious blue lines intertwined in a corner of my vision, forming the shape of a round diagram. It was the star's guidance, visible only to my eyes, my very own status window.
Displaying the status of user Arthur Reynolds. Current knight rank is Squire Preparation Stage. The held Stigma Aura value is 5.4. Proficiency in Imperial Basic Swordsmanship is 66%. The Chivalric Oath implementation rate remains at 100%.
Transparent letters floated in the air before quietly disappearing like dew. This clear growth indicator, visualized through numbers and explicit text, proved the fact that not a single drop of sweat I shed vanished into thin air.
Your posture broke again, Arthur. If the tip of your sword strays toward the sky, you can't target the enemy's frontal opening.
At the low, pressing, heavy voice, I snapped back to focus. On one side of the training grounds sat a man on an old wooden chair watching me. He was Jackson, a retired official knight of the Silver Lion Knights, and now my armless mentor, who had lost his right arm. Though one of his sleeves hung empty, with just his remaining left hand, he still exuded an overwhelming majesty like a giant boulder. His rough beard and the deep scar crossing his face told the story that he was a real knight who had traversed countless battlefields.
I'm sorry, Master Jackson. While controlling the flow of aura, the trajectory of my sword shook a little.
No need for excuses. To a knight, the sword must be an extension of their fingers. Aura naturally flows like water filling a vessel, only when the body's posture is perfectly established. Start again from the Imperial Basic Swordsmanship third form, the thrust.
Jackson's voice was stern, but I knew the deep affection contained within it very well. He was the very person who took me in when I was dying in a street brawl, gave me a place to eat and sleep in this tiny training ground, and taught me how to hold a sword. He was an existence to me far beyond a mere master.
Yes, I will do it again.
I firmly planted my feet once more. Slightly bending my right knee, I pointed the tip of the iron sword straight forward. The star fragment in my heart throbbed lightly, sending warm aura throughout my body. A blue line appeared in my vision, drawing the textbook trajectory my sword needed to follow in real time. Swish! With a sharp sound cutting through the wind, the iron sword accurately pierced the straw dummy in front. The angle of the thrust, the angle of the arm, and the timing of the aura eruption matched perfectly, a sensation blooming like a thrill through my fingertips.
Proficiency in Imperial Basic Swordsmanship has increased. Current proficiency is 66%. The star fragment in your heart responds to the perfect posture, increasing the circulation speed of the aura.
Thick drops of sweat flowed down from my forehead.
falling along the small scar on my cheek. Yes, this is it. No shortcuts or tricks were needed. Only honestly shed sweat, and endless repetition would make me a real knight. Only by becoming stronger could I protect my younger siblings remaining in the slum orphanage from these absurd forces.
It was right at that moment. The old wooden door at the main entrance of the training ground was violently kicked open, making a loud noise. Clang! Along with the heavy sound of military boots trampling the gravel path, an unpleasant laugh broke the silence of the training grounds. 3 men slowly revealed themselves through the fog. Emblazoned clearly on their chests was the emblem of the Golden Scales Merchant Guild, a massive power in the commercial city notorious for exploiting subhuman races.
The man leading them was Barrett, wearing leather armor and carrying a short sword at his waist. He was one of the vicious henchmen of the Golden Scales Merchant Guild, who extorted protection money from this area and oppressed subhuman laborers.
Ha! Still swallowing dirt dust and swinging wooden swords, eh? One-armed knight, sir. You've got it real easy.
Barrett spat on the ground and walked proudly into the training grounds. His eyes were filled with contempt for the old retired knight and blatant ridicule toward me, a bottom feeder.
Barrett, entering someone else's training grounds armed without permission isn't polite. Has the Golden Scales Merchant Guild forgotten not just commercial ethics, but basic manners as well?
Jackson shot back in a calm voice without standing up from his seat. However, contained within that low voice was a deep warning as a member of the Silver Lion Knights.
Manners? Ha! Don't make me laugh. Did you forget who owns this land? As of this month, the site this training ground sits on was purchased by our Golden Scales Merchant Guild for commercial district expansion. Old man, the monthly rent you used to pay has now tripled.
Tripled? Don't talk nonsense. According to Imperial law, this is a legitimate training site guaranteed for retired knights.
Gripping the iron sword, I took a step forward in front of Barrett. It was an utterly absurd demand. The Golden Scales Merchant Guild was a group that seized innocent people's homes like this and drove powerless dwarves, elves, and poor humans out onto the streets.
Oh, look who it is. A street rat rolling in the gutter dares to come at me wearing leather armor. Was it Arthur Reynolds? No matter how much you pretend to be a knight, you can never wash away that vulgar blood of yours. Do you think your status changes just because someone who used to lick nobles' boots picked up a sword? Get out of the way.
As Barrett motioned arrogantly, the 2 large mercenaries standing behind him fiddled with their weapons, pressing down on me. Malice overflowed from their eyes, showing that stepping on a bottom feeder like me was nothing to them. At that moment, deep inside my heart, the star fragment began to vibrate violently. Facing their despicable attitude of threatening the weak and seizing others' land by force, the stigma mana lying dormant within me reacted fiercely.
Unjust injustice and threats against the weak have been detected. The values of justice and courage, the core of chivalry, are activated. The star fragment in your heart responds, amplifying the stigma aura.
My entire field of vision was dyed in a bright, transparent blue light. The muscle movements of Barrett and his mercenaries, the angles of their weapons, and the trajectories of their next actions began to be read clearly, like shimmering lines of light upon a pond.
Arthur, do not step back. A knight's sword never bows before any unjust power. Embed your conviction into the tip of your sword.
Jackson's low advice firmly supported my back. I took a deep breath, exhaling the heat burning in my chest through my right hand.
I heavily aimed the old iron training sword.
Do not come another step closer, Barrett. This training ground is not a place that people like you can defile with money.
This impudent brat to the very end! Hey, break that rat's legs and throw him into the street. Show him clearly how brutal playing knight can be. As soon as Barrett's order fell, a large mercenary standing on the right lunged at me, swinging a massive iron mace. The mace tore through the air, falling above my head at a terrifying speed. Boom! An ordinary person would have been crushed by that intimidation and unable to move. But in my eyes, his flaw was painfully obvious. It was because the star's aura was accurately showing the trajectory his weapon drew in advance, with light. With minimal movement, I twisted my body to escape the mace's descending line. A passing cold wind grazed my cheek. The very instant the enemy's weapon struck the ground and his balance collapsed, I coldly opened my chest.
Swoosh.
Drawing a star-like trajectory of aura, my iron sword accurately struck between the mercenary's knee and thigh. It was a restrained strike of the Imperial basic swordsmanship that completely broke the opponent's center without inflicting a fatal wound. Thud. Org! The large mercenary fell to the floor with a heavy thud, screaming. It was a single, clean, and perfect counterattack. The faces of the other mercenary and Barrett instantly turned pale with shock.
What was that movement just now? How can a mere novice squire?
Barrett opened his eyes wide in disbelief and stepped backward. Leaving the tip of my sword pointed at the floor, I took heavy, solid steps toward him. The star's aura inside my heart bloomed even thicker, enveloping my entire body.
You have emerged victorious in a battle for rightful defense and protecting the weak. The stigma aura value has increased from 5.4 to 5.8. The clarity and judgment of your marksmanship become even more refined.
Warmth spread throughout my chest. It was the fruit of a small victory, achieved not through shortcuts, but solely through my skill and honest knightly spirit.
Go back, Barrett, and tell the head of the Golden Scales Merchant Guild the conviction of the Silver Lion Knights cannot be broken by your threats or money.
My voice did not tremble. The servility from my days as a bottom-dwelling stray was nowhere to be found. Only the willpower of a swordsman proving himself firmly settled within my eyes.
Damn it. Do you think anything changes just because you protected one tiny training ground like this? The day the Golden Scales Merchant Guild takes the entire stellarite mine of the Citadel City into its hands, nobodies like you will be swept away like dust. Let's go. We retreat for today. But just you watch, Arthur Reynolds.
Barrett helped the fallen mercenary up, stumbling as he fled out of the training grounds as if escaping. Their cowardly footsteps receded into the fog, and a quiet silence returned to the training grounds once again. I slowly withdrew my sword and placed it in its sheath. My fingertips trembled lightly. It wasn't simple tension, but because the star's power unleashed from within me felt so immensely powerful and noble.
Splendid, Archer.
Jackson stood up from the wooden chair and slowly walked toward me. Deep pride and a reverent light flickered inside his single eye.
Without yielding to the enemy's threat, avoiding unnecessary slaughter, you subdued the enemy solely with skill and dignity. That is indeed the true posture of a knight I wish to teach you.
It is all thanks to the Imperial Basic Swordsmanship Master Jackson taught me. Without Master's teachings, I would have been no different from a street thug relying solely on brute force.
I bowed my head toward Jackson, performing the knight's etiquette. From his waist, Jackson pulled out a red cloth band adorned with silver decorations he had cherished for a long time. It was the squire insignia of the Silver Lion Knights, worn on the chest only by those advancing onto the path of an official knight.
Arthur Reynolds, today you proved your conviction through your own actions. I can no longer keep you as a mere trainee. From this moment on, I appoint you as an official squire of the Silver Lion Knights. Using the star in your chest as your compass, protect the weak and cherish honor like life itself.
Jackson personally tied the band over my chest armor with a heavy touch. At that moment, the star fragment in my heart shone brightly, as if bestowing a blessing, ringing a grand vibration through the blood vessels of my whole body.
You have proven your qualifications and obtained official status. Your status has been promoted from trainee to official squire. The basic recovery speed of all aura increases by 20%. The detection range of the light line, a special ability of the stigma aura, expands.
The system message that floated into my vision resonated warmly in my chest. I, who used to wander the bottom of the streets, had finally stepped on to the first real rung of the great journey called a knight.
Thank you, Master Jackson. I will become a knight worthy of this band. Until the day my life ends, I will keep the chivalric oath.
I swore with my hand on my chest. The faces of the young siblings at the orphanage and the smiles of the many poor and powerless people I had to protect crossed my mind. I will surely rise to the realm of Grand Master and change the Imperial Realm's unjust order with my own hands. However, the emotion was brief. Jackson's expression soon sank darkly. The word Barrett blurted out while fleeing seemed to have left a deep residue in his mind.
The Stellarite mine. The Golden Scales Merchant Guild bastards have finally started touching even that forbidden domain.
Do you mean Stellarite? I heard it's a mysterious mineral coming from deep within the Imperial mines. Why is that a problem?
Stellarite is no mere mineral. It is a source of powerful magic buried beneath the sacred territories of the ancient dwarves and elves. For the Golden Scales Merchant Guild to try to monopolize it is no different from a declaration of war to usurp the dwarf and elf territories by force.
Deep concern flickered in Jackson's eyes. Rumors were rife in the Citadel City that not only the Golden Scales Merchant Guild, but also the Pure Blood Rose faction, clamoring for extreme human pure-bloodism on the Imperial fringes, were moving. The entire empire was being dragged into a giant storm of war. It was right then. Rumble! Along with a tremor that shook the entire ground of the Citadel City, an extreme pain and violent vibration I had never experienced before burst out from the center of my chest.
My chest.
I clutched my chest and fell to my knees on the floor. The star fragment inside my heart was spewing flames as if running wild. It wasn't a simple amplification of aura. It was an unmistakable resonance phenomenon that something massive deep under the mines of the Citadel City, at the origin where Stellarite was buried, was ominously reacting.
Warning. The primal star fragment has detected an intense external resonance. Corrupted shadow mana is erupting from the center of the Stellarite deposit. A massive collision with the stigma aura occurs.
My field of vision shimmered dizzyingly in strange red and blue light. The star fragment embedded in my heart, it was no mere source of power. It was the sole key that could stop the downfall of the entire empire, and at the same time, the primordial power itself that could drive the whole world to destruction.
Arthur, pull yourself together. The light on your chest. What on earth is happening to you?
Jackson grabbed my shoulders with a shocked expression, but his voice gradually faded far away from my ears.
Beyond the fog, in the deep darkness beneath the citadel city, a cold gaze pierced my heart, as if something strange and massive was awakening. The conspiracy of the Golden Scales Merchant Guild, the inevitable conflict with the subhuman races over stellarite, and the tragic truth of the star fragment hidden in my heart.
The giant cogs of fate were beginning to creak and turn toward me. Even within my falling consciousness, I never let go of the sword hilt. A harsh trial was approaching.